Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We got UFC Fight and Whittaker versus the Ritter on in a couple days. And entered last week off of a decent performance. Again, the main card was bullshit, but it is what it is. We got a lot of chances this week to have a nice card. It's a great fight night overall. Should be a lot of fun. Let's get right into it. All right, starting off in the heavyweight division, we got Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha. Buday is the ranked number 13 fighter. He's plus 250. Buchecha, UFC newcomer, minus 300. And for Buchecha, I think he will win. I think he will win by sub, but this does feel like a bit of a trap because Bidet, despite not being very impressive, I just don't think he's that good. He is okay everywhere. And we've seen that he can have jiu-jitsu, he has striking, not much power, but he does have it. And Buchecha is, despite being one-dimensional, he is a BJJ royalty outside of MMA. This dude has tons of international awards and other things in BJJ. He's taken over one MMA where he had a lot of success, went 5-1, four submissions and a knockout. He did lose to Roy Roig, but I think he is the current heavyweight champ, if I'm not mistaken. And for Bajicha, this should be easy going once it gets to the ground. We haven't seen Budai on the ground yet, right? 100% takedown defense, but not against great wrestlers. Buchecha isn't an amazing wrestler, but he is relentless with those takedown attempts, and once he is on top, he flows so well. He flows like a middleweight on top. It's amazing how quick he is, transitions and submissions. So I am picking Buchecha this week just because while Bidet is good on the ground, there is levels to that, and I think Buchecha will show him levels on the ground. So I got him by submission, minus 300. Um, and honestly, it might look like that, but just as precautionary, I probably wouldn't place any money on that. All right, moving on to our favorite featherweight punching bags. We got Muhammad Yahya versus Stephen Wynn. And, Muhammad Yahya, honestly, probably not UFC level at this point, and kind of makes sense with the odds. The odds reflect that Stephen Wynn minus 405, comeback on Yahya plus 305. And, it kind of makes sense. Wynn, um, again, a guy not the best striking defense himself, but the dude has a chin of steel. The dude can take a beating, keep on coming. Got great power himself, and against a guy like Yaya who just hasn't really shown his UFC caliber. The dude isn't UFC caliber. His chin is very shaky at best. Striking offense not great. The dude just eats a ton of shots, can't really give much back, and against a guy like Win, that's gonna be trouble. 10 times out of 10. So obviously, I gotta go Win here to get it done by knockout, and winning his perfect hairline should cruise here because, yeah, again, I keep repeating this as he's shown, just not a UFC level guy. Probably getting brought on for the type of region this event is getting held in, and I just don't think he has what it takes to win at this level. All right, moving on to the light heavyweight division, we got Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elikana. Aslan's the favorite here. He's minus 260. Comeback on Elikana is plus 220. And I think the main thing I'm looking at here for Elikana is just the well-roundedness of him, right? Because he's shown while it's not the most exciting when he flows, he knows what he's doing on the feet and on the ground, right? Because this guy, he knows he's pretty long for this division. He knows he can use those kicks, use those straight shots to keep these brawlers at bay. And then when the time is right, he will shoot those takedowns and he will lay on top, and he has decent control. Um, obviously, if Aslan wins, he'll probably look minus 1,000. I'll probably look like an idiot picking Elikana. But when this dude is on the ground, man, this dude has a major cardio dump. This guy does a fish out of water on the ground. Both his losses are by submission. And he just doesn't really have the ground game to be a real high level fighter in the UFC. Now, can he knock out Elikana? Of course he can. When you saw Elikana gas his last fight, albeit on short notice, but Elikana was taking some massive shots from Bogdan Guskov, and so makes me think that he takes a couple shots from Aslan, get on the hips of this guy and take him down. And as we've seen, Aslan just doesn't have the ground game. So I'm picking Elikana here. I think it's done by decision. All right, moving on to the women's strawweight, we got Amanda Hebos versus Tabitha Ricci. Hebos is the favorite, minus 200. Comeback on Ricci is plus 170. And despite all the inconsistencies of Hebos, right? She doesn't have the best fight IQ. She goes for positions a bit too overzealous. In those positions we saw in her last fight, she was a pretty big favorite against Mackenzie Dern. She was grappling with her, which that's only in one way most of the time, and that is by getting subbed. And that's exactly what happened last fight. But against Ricci, I think a lot of her weaknesses are going to be minimized here against a girl that just doesn't have the best striking to really, kind of hurt Rebos as we've seen in the past. Ricci, And of course, you look at the frame, 5'1", 61-inch reach. It just won't be that threatening to Rebos, because Rebos will have a massive reach advantage, massive height advantage. She pushes the pace. She'll push the pace for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, doesn't matter. And she'll make sure to get in her face and do damage. And that's just, I love that about Rebos, especially in this fight where Ricci can't really threaten with the power. She's more of a girl that'll just kind of lay in the clinch on the cage and kind of work for takedowns. And she's not really dangerous despite having some high BJJ accolades outside of the UFC. I just got to go Rebos here. The size should be enough for her. And if not, the tenacity should definitely be. She's shown she can crawl back from tough situations. I don't think she'll really be threatened in this fight. And so I got to pick her to win by decision. All right, next fight at the bantamweight division, we got Davey Grant taking on Damon Blackshear. Blackshear closing as the favorite, minus 340. Comeback on Davey Grant is plus 280. And I am going to pick Blackshear. I was initially a little bit less confident because Grant, despite being 39, has shown a pretty impressive performances recently against both Tavares and Marcos. Even against Marcos, I thought he won that fight. The guy's very well rounded. He got nice kicks, nice punches, a lot of power despite being, again, 39 years old. The guy's got a lot of power. A diverse grappling. This guy, of course, known for his reverse triangle over a sunstyle comeback victory. But I think against Blackshear, his range and his grappling should be a really good victory maker for him in this fight. As his last fight, his striking has developed so much to a point where I think I can trust him in the striking exchanges against a guy like Grant, who's a little bit older. And in the grappling, this guy's a different beast. He's submitted a lot of people on the UFC level against Gibson. He was hurt pretty bad, was able to transition to the grappling, and had him in a lot of trouble early. So I got to go with Blackshear. I think he's done by decision. All right, next fight at welterweight, we got Muslim Salihov versus Carlos Leal. Salihov is an underdog here, plus 375. Comeback on Leal is minus 500. And I'm, again, as the odds show, I'm very confident in Leal to get this one done. The guy's got an absolute powerhouse. More juiced up than freaking John Jones, and honestly, it's gonna pay off here. This dude is insanely powerful, got a great chin on him, and that's just stuff that Salihov has really struggled with in his UFC career. Right, this guy does not like boxing in the pocket, getting pressured. He's shown extreme weaknesses, especially at 41. A lot of weaknesses to those kinds of matchups. We saw it against Li Jingling, especially against Randy Brown. Getting after this guy in the pocket is just cause for concern, especially this chin starting to give out. Hasn't looked great. Despite the 2-fight win streak, the chin has not looked great in the past few fights. And I just got to go Leal. This dude's a different beast, especially on the feet. The dude has the perfect style to ruin a guy like Salihov. Again, the odds make sense. I got him by first round knockout. All right, feature prelim in the bantamweight division. I highlight that because this is Bryce Mitchell's first fight at bantamweight, as most of you know. And we'll see how that goes for him. He's taking on Saeed Nurmagomedov. He's a slight favorite in this fight at minus 145. Comeback on Nurmagomedov, plus 125. And this is a very interesting fight. Probably one of the hardest ones to call on the card because there's a lot of question marks when it comes to Bryce Mitchell, right? Because he fought a lot of good competition at 145, just didn't have success at the higher echelon of fighters. Was kind of in that top 10 to 15 range, but just could never break through. And against a guy like Nurmagomedov, he's got to be careful because some of the weaknesses he's shown at 145 could translate in this fight, right? The nasty guillotine, again, one of the best in the game. This guy slaps on that ninja choke, and you're basically done. As well as just great overall striking, which, again, Mitchell has struggled with. The guy's pretty meat and potatoes on the feet. And then really where he wants to lie is in the grappling. And we saw if this guy is just constantly shooting takedowns, not really having success in the striking, he can gas out pretty quickly. He did that against Silva. And I'm wondering if the bantamweight cut is going to have an even bigger effect on his gas tank. And again, the bantamweight cut could be great, and he could make me look like a fool. But as from what I know right now, I got to pick Saeed Nurmagomedov. The dude is a good striker, and again, I think that guillotine is going to catch Bryce Mitchell shooting these double legs and single legs. If he's, getting tired, second, third round again, Saeed might be tired, but he can still be dangerous even in the second and third round. So I got to go Saeed here, get it done by submission. All right, moving on to the main card, we got Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. Krylov, pretty big favorite, minus 200. Comeback on Guskov, plus 170. I think the reason these odds are a bit wide is probably because of the grappling disadvantage that Guskov has. It's a pretty big advantage, honestly, because Guskov has shown in his UFC career he just doesn't really have the grappling to kind of hang at high-level exchanges. We saw that against Uzdemir and Elikana. The dude against Alicana, short nose, taken out almost instantly, and had his back control for a good 4 minutes, and that's a big problem against a guy like Krylov, because Krylov is a finisher on the ground. The dude will snatch up anything he can get with those long limbs. Um, uses his length really well there, despite being having only a slight reach advantage. It'll seem like a lot more on the ground if it gets there. The problem I have with Krylov at this price, and I'm going to pick him, but I'm not as confident in his prices, especially because of how stiff he looked in his last fight against Dominic Reyes. The dude was kind of walking forward like this. Just the striking just looked absolutely horrendous throughout the fight, and if he's staying standing for too long, Guskov does have the power. He has the length. He can knock this guy out, no problem. And that's my one big concern. But I am going to pick him because, again, the grappling hole is pretty large, and it's just hard to pick against a guy who can control where the fight goes at all times. And, Guskov, again, has shown the weaknesses, but I wouldn't be surprised if Krylov comes in here and gets slept again because the dude was on a long layoff, coming and looked horrible. But again, Dominic Reyes, you got to understand who he's dealing with there. Apologies. All right, next fight at flyweight, we got Astu Amabaya versus Jose Ochoa. Amabaya, a small favorite, minus 115. Come back on Ochoa again, minus 105. And I love this guy Ochoa. This guy's a nasty striker. He knows what he's doing. He's got a surprisingly high fight IQ for his age. The dude knows when to grapple, knows when to strike, and he knows when he's hurt to get outside of the pocket, maybe stop brawling a little bit, and rely on that technical striking and that big height and reach that he has at flyweight. The guy, especially against Durden, right, he was kind of rolling in that fight. Clipped him a couple times in the first round. Got stunned a bit, backed off, and used the technique for the rest of the first round. Then came out like a bat out of hell in the second round and ended up knocking him out. I think he could have similar success against Almabayev. Almabayev is a little bit different. His wrestling is a little bit better, and his control is a bit better than Durden. Obviously, the gas tank and the chin is better too, because we've seen that Durden has kind of fallen off over the last couple of years. But for Almabayev, the only issue I have with him is his striking. His striking is very wild, and despite he does have a little pop in his shots. It's very wild, and it's gotten him in trouble a couple times in the UFC. Against Nicolau and against Kopp, he was losing a lot of striking exchanges. I think if he sticks on the feet for too long, he's definitely going to lose these striking exchanges to Ochoa. I can trust his takedown defense, and I think he's going to come through here. I think he's going to come through. I think he's going to win by decision, but there is a chance for a knockout here, and I do trust Ochoa that he's going to be constantly moving forward. I have the cardio for 3 rounds, and I just don't know if Almabayev can hang for 3 rounds in the striking. So I got to go Ochoa here. I think it's done by decision. All right, feature fight. We got Shara Bullet versus Marc Andre Barrio. Shara Bullet, biggest favorite on the card, minus 600. Come back on Barrio plus 425. And despite the odds, I mean, Shara Bullet minus 600 is pretty crazy. Any fight. But, I mean, they made this matchup for a reason. I think the UFC knew what they were doing. They had Marc Andre Barrio off that crazy knockout, and they're going to give that energy right to Shara Bullet here. And it's just a tailor made matchup for him. The dude loves fighting off the back foot, very good with his kicks, especially his leg kicks. And it's going to be a problem for Barrio because if he's marching forward, and he usually gets hit a lot, he's going to get hit a lot more if his legs getting shoot up and he's trying to march forward against this guy, Shara Bullet, with great kicks. And I just got to think eventually he's probably going to run into something and get his chin tested. And when he gets his chin tested in these past few fights, it hasn't gone well for him, right? Got knocked out by Pfeiffer, got knocked out by Stoltzfus. Both big punchers, probably bigger than Shara Bullet. But Shara Bullet is a more technical, clean striker than both of them, despite getting kind of thrown around by MVP. I think he can get this done here. I think he honestly make it look easy. Despite Barrio being the type of style that could foil Magomedov, obviously the chin and the striking defense just kept major causes for concern. Even the footwork too. I think Magomedov is going to have a lot faster footwork. I got Magomedov by knockout here. All right, co-main event time. We got Peter Yan taking on Marcus McGee. Great fight in the bantamweight division. Yan is as the minus 375 favorite. Come back on McGee plus 300. And I gotta like Yan in this fight, despite his round one weaknesses. I do think he's gonna pull through in the second and third rounds, as he did against Song Yadong. The dude is just an unbelievable striker and wrestler. Not even wrestler. He has amazing trips, but he will time shots very well. I think against McGee, it's just going to be him with way too much experience. He's fought the best of the best for around 5 years now. The dude, obviously, amazing striking. I think that's going to cause McGee problems. McGee was having problems with the leg kicks of Martinez. The kicks from Yan could be an issue here in this fight. One thing I will say, though, is that Jan taking off the first round in this fight is a bit of cause for concern because McGee does know how to scrap. He does have big power in his hands. And if Jan is, fighting this fight pretty close second, third round, and McGee lands one big shot that could alter the fight a little bit, because McGee does have that one punch knockout power. He knows when to brawl, come forward, not afraid to fight, kind of give one to take one type of guy. I just gotta think Jan will be the more technical fighter overall. Know when to shoot, great fight IQ. I gotta go Jan here. I think he gets done by decision. Very close fight though, a lot closer than the odds say. All right, main event time. We got Robert Whittaker taking on Renier de Ritter. Robert Whittaker, story career is slight favorite in this fight, minus 165. Comeback on DeRitter, plus 145. Again, there's not a lot of superlatives left to say about Whittaker. This guy's a legend, but I am in a slight lean DeRitter here, and mainly because of the size. This dude's 6'4", 78-inch reach, and has a great game plan for each one of his opponents. Uses that height and reach really well in his fights. Knows who he is, right? He's not going to try to play this technical kickboxing match with Whittaker because he knows he's going to lose. And he knows Whittaker's the far better striker. So what's he going to do? He's going to close that distance, use that height and reach, and he's going to try to bully Whittaker, which, as we've seen in the past, Whittaker has had a lot of trouble defending against these big guys. Romero, the second fight, Romero had him wobbled a bunch. Dricus Duplessis famously knocked him out in the second round. The dude's had a lot of problems with these big, tall guys at middleweight, and DeRitter's just another one of these guys. He's absolutely huge at this weight class. I think he's going to cause a lot of issues again. And Holland, he was immediately on the wrestling. Was able to bully that small guy. Even against Bo Nickel, the dude is not a tall middleweight. So what did he do? He felt out the wrestling in the second round, immediately went for the clinch, got in the clinch, was able to reverse positions very easily against a really decorated wrestler. And that dude in trouble a bunch. With the knees and the punches in the clinch. Very good in the clinch. And honestly, I think he could win this fight by finish. I have him by knockout in this fight. I think it won't be like a standing knockout, perhaps, maybe in the clinch, but I think he can really dominate Whittaker there. Again, the dude has big power in his hands as well. I mean, obviously, comes with the height and reach, but you can definitely see a ground and pound or a clinch finish here from DeRitter, maybe up against the cage. But I got to go to Ritter here. All respect to Whittaker. Of course, he could come in here and really, box the head off of DeRitter. But I just got to think maybe a combination of Whittaker maybe being past it along with DeRitter's size and the streak he's on. I got to go with DeRitter here. I can think he's done by knockout. And that is the end of the video, right? So thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. Again, the circumstances around this video are a little bit weird. I'm in a hotel. I'm in Boston, of course, but I promise I'll try to get on a little bit of a better schedule. All right, I'm gonna hope to do this probably every Tuesday, Wednesday, start next week, and yeah, you'll get better videos. Hopefully, I can get the microphone back. So, really appreciate you guys, and hopefully, you guys enjoy the video.